What's up, cool people? I'm Matt Conroy. Welcome back to our Bible study. We have Exodus 28 for today, and kind of a long chapter, so maybe I shouldn't spend too much time introducing it. But the long story short, God is giving Moses, laws and commandments and things like that on Mount Sinai. And this is kind of the second part of that. There was like one day of it, and then there was kind of a break time. Moses wrote down what had been said, gave it to the people, or at least told it to the people. They all agreed that they would follow that, but there's a whole lot more to come. Anyway, okay. So that's kind of where we are. Let's get this thing rolling. Exodus 28. Call for your brother Aaron and his sons, Nadab, Abihu, Eleazar, and Ithamar. Set them apart from the rest of the people of Israel, so they may minister to me and be my priests. Make sacred garments for Aaron that are glorious and beautiful. Instruct all the skilled craftsmen whom I have filled with the spirit of wisdom. Have them make garments for Aaron that will distinguish him as a priest set apart for my service. These are the garments they are to make: a chest piece, an ephod, a robe, a patterned tunic, a turban, and a sash. They are to make these sacred garments for your brother Aaron and his sons to wear when they serve me as priests. So give them fine linen cloth, gold thread, and blue, purple, and scarlet thread. Okay, so I gotta be honest with you. This word, ephod, I kind of don't even really know what that means. Maybe I should look it up real quick. And yeah, I know, Bing search. I get points for that. So it just says it's a sleeveless garment worn by Jewish priests. And that might kind of sort of be an image of it. So it's like... So there's a chest piece. I assume the ephod kind of goes under that chest piece as sort of like an extra garment to go on top of, well, because then it also mentions a robe and a patterned tunic anyway. But sleeveless would imply that it is meant to go over the chest, at least to some extent. So... Anyway, so multiple chest pieces, and I think it maybe even mentioned earlier that the ephod would get like special gemstones and stuff on it, at least in this case. So, yeah, basically lots of fancy clothes, with kind of more basic clothes underneath. And then there's going to be a turban, which obviously is a headpiece, and a sash, which, we kind of know what a sash is. It's, a piece of cloth or something that kind of goes around. Like, the Miss America pageants or whatever, and, like, they wear the ribbon thing that goes over one shoulder and not the other. Think something kind of like that, but maybe more, generic in this case. So anyway, God is saying that, basically Aaron and his sons need to be set apart specifically as priests who will then, do the work of the tabernacle that has been mentioned in the previous chapters of how to build that. And so these clothes that are going to be made are special garments for the priests, and, at the very least to be worn when performing their priestly duties. So anyway, and now I guess we're going to get into the designs of these pieces of clothing. So, moving on to verse 6. The craftsman must make the ephod of finely woven linen and skillfully embroider it with gold and with blue, purple, and scarlet thread. It will consist of 2 pieces, front and back, joined at the shoulders with 2 shoulder pieces. The decorative sash will be made of the same materials, finely woven linen embroidered with gold and with blue, purple, and scarlet thread. Okay, it doesn't really say in what combination, though, and that's kind of what is lacking a bit from my ability to sort of depict this. But yeah, so you have kind of those pieces that are meant to go. Those are probably some of the outermost, other than maybe the chest piece. I imagine from outer layer to inner, it would be like sash, chest piece, ephod, and robe and then tunic, or tunic robe. Probably robe and then tunic. Anyway. Not much else to say about that. Verse 9. Take 2 onyx stones and engrave on them the names of the tribes of Israel. 6 names will be on each stone, arranged in the order of the births of the original sons of Israel. Engrave these names on the 2 stones in the same way a jeweler engraves a seal. Then mount the stones in settings of gold filigree. Fasten the 2 stones on the shoulder pieces of the ephod as a reminder that Aaron represents the people of Israel. Aaron will carry these names on his shoulders as a constant reminder whenever he goes before the Lord. Make the settings of gold filigree, then braid 2 cords of pure gold and attach them to the filigree settings on the shoulders of the ephod. So the ephod has got 2 shoulder pieces, stone shoulder pieces. So the stones have the names of the tribes of Israel, which, you know, symbolic of them representing Israel as their, you know, communing with God, you know, giving offerings, praying, those kind of things within the tabernacle. And so anyway, I guess these stones on the shoulders are going to be attached with some sort of gold to connect to the other pieces of the ephod. Or at least that's the impression I get. Maybe I'm not thinking of that correctly. But anyway, actually, maybe there aren't like jewels going on to those. Maybe it's just the names of the tribes. I thought I remembered something or another having jewels on them. It looks like that might be the chest piece, just reading ahead slightly. So anyway, let's move on to verse 15. Then with great skill and care, make a chest piece to be worn for seeking a decision from God. Make it to match the ephod using finely woven linen embroidered with gold and with blue, purple, and scarlet thread. Make the chest piece of a single piece of cloth folded to form a pouch 9 inches square. Mount 4 rows of gemstones on it. The first row will contain a red carnelian, a pale green peridot, I think that's how that's pronounced, and an emerald. The second row will contain a turquoise, a blue lapis lazuli, and a white moonstone. The third row will contain an orange jacinth, an agate, and a purple amethyst. The fourth row will contain a blue-green beryl, an onyx, and a green jasper. All these stones will be set in gold filigree. Each stone will represent one of the 12 sons of Israel, and the name of that tribe will be engraved on it like a seal. Okay, so maybe that's where my confusion came from, because these jewels being set in the chest piece in a similar manner to some of what was described with the gold filigree and whatnot for the ephod. But anyway, so yeah, the chest piece is gonna, let's see here, single piece of cloth folded to form a pouch 9 inches square. I don't know if there was really anything that was supposed to go in the pouch, or if that was just supposed to be like an extra layer for where the chest piece was supposed to go. But anyway, so yeah, lots of fancy jewels and stuff to represent the 12 tribes of Israel. I wonder if, each color and gemstone kind of had a particular meaning related to each tribe. But anyway, let's take a look at the footnotes here real quick. Chest piece to be worn for seeking a decision from God. Hebrew just says a chest piece for decision. Okay. And then this one, the Hebrew says one span instead of 9 inches. So the chest piece was only supposed to be worn if, they were doing a certain thing, apparently seeking a decision from God or something like that. Possibly, to be worn when praying for such matters as well. Anyway, okay. Moving on to verse 22. To attach the chest piece to the ephod, make braided cords of pure gold thread. Then make 2 gold rings and attach them to the top corners of the chest piece. Tie the 2 gold cords to the 2 rings on the chest piece. Tie the other ends of the cords to the gold settings on the shoulder pieces of the ephod. Then make 2 more gold rings and attach them to the inside edges of the chest piece next to the ephod. Make 2 more gold rings and attach them to the front of the ephod below the shoulder pieces, just above the knot where the decorative sash is fastened to the ephod. Then attach the bottom rings of the chest piece to the rings on the ephod with blue cords. This will hold the chest piece securely to the ephod above the decorative sash. So just a lot of that whole paragraph was just about fastening the chest piece to the ephod, apparently. So the gold rings obviously would have been, I forget what the term is for that, but like when you have something that you want to put, a rope or cord or piece of thread through to fasten things, and it mentions mentions the cords being gold as well. So lots of gold going into this. No, maybe not lots. Not relative to other things, but still. So it seems like there are places to attach both, on the front of the, where the shoulders are, and then kind of go around the back of it as well, which would make sense in order to keep the chest piece secure and not have it like bounce around. Anyway, okay. Gonna move on to verse 29, trying not to spend too much time commenting on things because, don't want to make this too long. So, anyway, verse 29. In this way, Aaron will carry the names of the tribes of Israel on the sacred chest piece. Over his heart when he goes into the holy place. This will be a continual reminder that he represents the people when he comes before the Lord. Insert the Urim and Thummim into the sacred chest piece so they will be carried over Aaron's heart when he goes into the Lord's presence. In this way, Aaron will always carry over his heart objects used to determine the Lord's will for his people whenever he goes in before the Lord. Okay. Sacred chest piece. Hebrew says chest piece for decision again. Now, these things, the Urim and Tumim, assuming I'm pronouncing those right, it says objects used to determine the Lord's will. So, I'm kind of trying to figure out a little bit what those mean. I'm not 100% sure of that. Hey, let me try and do a search. See if I can find anything. Elements. Breast. Yeah. Connected with. Okay. So, these would have been tools used to, in a similar way that they would cast lots sometimes in the Bible, which wasn't necessarily like it's one of those things where it sounds like it's just, a pure luck. I mean, at least the casting lots part. But, first off, there might have been some sort of belief then that, what we call luck was actually, just, discovering the divine will. Like, this is not a result of pure chance. This was brought about by God's will or something to that effect. But even more so, these instruments might not even have been that kind of thing. It might have been more, something that was used to just form a connection when trying to, commune with God, in a sense, when trying to, obviously, when trying to get a sense of God's will, these would be used in some way or another to, strengthen the connection between the user and God, or at least that was the idea behind them. Anyway, I don't really know a whole lot on that, so if somebody does, feel free to let me know. But anyway, so these things were to be... they weren't necessarily part of the chest piece itself. But insert them in. Okay, so they were placed into the chest piece in some way. That, but they could then be, I think, taken out of the chest piece when they needed to be used. Okay, verse 31. Here we go. Make the robe that is worn with the ephod from a single piece of blue cloth, with an opening for Aaron's head in the middle of it. Reinforce the opening with a woven collar, so it will not tear. Make pomegranates out of blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, and attach them to the hem of the robe, with gold bells between them. The gold bells and pomegranates are to alternate all around the hem. Aaron will wear this robe whenever he ministers before the Lord, and the bells will tinkle as he goes in and out of the Lord's presence in the holy place. If he wears it, he will not die. So that makes it seem almost like the purpose of the bells partially were to possibly alert the people of Aaron's going in and out of the holy place, or even just, him doing certain priestly duties. But, so the design of it, so it's a blue cloth that's worn, I would assume, under the ephod. And, robes are robes. You kind of have an idea of what those look like. But I don't imagine this would be like the softer, fluffier robes that we tend to think of and use today. It's just a single piece of blue cloth. So, yeah, no, it's not quite going to be like that. And then on the bottom hem of it, it had these bells and these, woven pomegranate-shaped things. Okay. So, verse 36, I'll probably go through verse 39 for now. Next, make a medallion of pure gold and engrave it like a seal with these words, Holy to the Lord. Attach the medallion with a blue cord to the front of Aaron's turban, where it must remain. Aaron must wear it on his forehead so he may take on himself any guilt of the people of Israel when they consecrate their sacred offerings. He must always wear it on his forehead so the Lord will accept the people. Weave Aaron's patterned tunic from fine linen cloth. Fashion the turban from this linen as well. Also make a sash and decorate it with colorful embroidery. Okay, so holy to the Lord, and the turban was supposed to, it says Aaron must wear it so he may take on himself any guilt of the people of Israel. Now, we don't often think too much about this, that there was actually a precedent before Jesus of somebody taking on the sin and the guilt of God's people. And that seemed to be part of the purpose of this turban, but it was engraved with the phrase, Holy to the Lord. So, while Aaron may have been the one taking on the guilt and the sin of Israel in the, in the pre-Jesus, very pre-Jesus times, that message written on it signified that, Aaron himself wasn't necessarily sinful or to be condemned or shunned by God to where he would, take on any consequence of bringing that sin into the holy place or something like that. Because I'm pretty sure, anything deemed that unholy would not have been acceptable to bring into the holy place. So, similar to how, Jesus took on our sin, through his death and resurrection, and yet is still holy and blameless in the eyes of the Father. Similarly, Aaron was taking on the sins of the people, but, still shown as holy to the Lord. At least that's the vibe that I get here. There's certainly similarities in these instances, regardless of, how you look at it. Whatever slight differences there might be in the details. So it almost makes me wonder if Jesus, taking on our sin while still being holy was meant to, signify, represent, and in a way possibly even improve upon this practice that was set up by God at the earliest, or very early in the establishment of his people. Anyway, gonna move on here and wrap up the chapter. So, verse 40. For Aaron's sons, make tunics, sashes, and special head coverings that are glorious and beautiful. Clothe your brother Aaron and his sons with these garments, and then anoint and ordain them. Consecrate them so they can serve as my priests. Also make linen undergarments for them to be worn next to their bodies, reaching from their hips to their thighs. These must be worn whenever Aaron and his sons enter the tabernacle, or approach the altar in the holy place to perform their priestly duties. Then they will not incur guilt and die. This is a permanent law for Aaron and all his descendants after him. So yeah, this isn't just Aaron and his sons that are going to take this on and some other random person will be appointed later. No, it's carrying on throughout Aaron's bloodline as the generations continue. So Aaron's sons were supposed to wear something somewhat similar, but, less decorated. Because, Aaron was basically head priest, and his sons were, other priests that could perform certain things, but, wouldn't have as much that they would do in all likelihood. Footnote, a tabernacle just says tent of meeting. So, yeah, that kind of wraps up the chapter. Lots of stuff about the clothing for the priests. With a little bit of similarity to a little bit of Jesus showing up in this chapter. I mean, you could probably find a way to make a little bit of Jesus show up in, every chapter of the Bible. But this is a much more obvious similarity, I would say, than some of the other things. But anyway, yeah. That's going to wrap it up for our Bible study for now. All right, so that's going to do it for Exodus 28. A lot of stuff about priestly clothing and sort of the intent behind it. Also, of course, learning that Aaron and his descendants were the ones to be the priests from that point forward, essentially. So they would be the ones obviously wearing all these special clothes and all that kind of stuff. And, it sounds almost as if the special clothing gave them, special immunity from, God's wrath within certain places of the tabernacle. Whether or not that was literally the case, it was definitely symbolically so. But anyway, I digress. So yeah, that was really about it for Exodus 28. So yeah, as always, like the video if you enjoyed, share it with others if you want them to see. Subscribe to my channel and click the bell to get updates when I post new videos. Make sure to look down in the description for info on other social media pages and how to find and follow those. And leave comments down below with any thoughts that you have. Especially related to any of, if I was lacking or incorrect on, descriptions of some of the clothing or any other stuff like that. If I was wrong, please let me know. Because I certainly don't claim to know everything about this. And I would rather somebody give the correct answer than we all just carry on assuming it's a certain way when it's not. But anyway, okay, so that's it. Hope you're all doing well. Hopefully I'll see you for the next chapter. But until then, stay cool, people.